It's already been 5 years. Yup, it's been 5 years since the episode that was Saint Anger, one of the most controversial Metallica releases of their career. And yet here we are in 2008, and after much work and anticipation, we have the latest Metallica release, Death Magnetic, which is hitting stores today on September 12th, 2008. And yet Metallica fans new and old are wondering how the album is going to turn out. Does it bring Metallica back to its glory days? Does it hold the course that they've been traveling ever since 1991? Well, the good thing is that Metallica does take a different step with this release, and almost in an effort to appease the many fans who wanted Metallica to go back to the style that made them famous in the first place, they have done so on this album, which is actually quite good. Now, Death Magnetic has been one of the most talked about releases for the last month, and arguably the last year. Pretty much every music forum, every music magazine, and heck, anything to do with music has been talking about Metallica and about Death Magnetic. Metallica has everyone talking about their latest release, and whether it's about the debates about Metallica still being a relevant band or not by both the fans and the haters, unquestionably, many fans of the bands will be checking out the release just to see how it turned out. Thankfully, Metallica did a pretty superb job with the album, and while it may not appease all Metallica fans, it does a nice job of taking Metallica back into a more heavier and progressive direction that should appeal to some Metallica fans who were just hoping that Metallica would go back to a more thrash direction. And now, while it wasn't the biggest challenge for a band like Metallica to once again stink up the world with the abomination that was Saint Anger, the band went into the studio with a new direction, which shows off clearly with the album. The band just sounds rejuvenated and refreshed and more energetic than they've been in a long time. And I'm talking with their studio releases, obviously. Live, they've been sort of going in that direction the last few years. And now for the album, whether that's the influence of producer Rubin or simply the band themselves, which you'll get varying arguments on either side, Metallica does sound reinvigorated, and the material clearly shows. From the opening track, That Was Just Your Life, all the way to the closer, My Apocalypse, all members of the band sound great, and most of all, they all sound inspired. Or at the very least, as inspired as Metallica will be nowadays. Now first, let's start off with James. He sounds great on the album. Maybe a little too good if you ask me. Now, a lot of that's obviously the studio magic, and a lot of the roughness and gruff that James has when he's singing live, it's just not really shown on the album. But that's not a bad thing, you know what? James just sounds great, his lyrics are pretty good, and you know what? It's a good stuff all around. Next up, we got Kirk Hammett, who is sounding really solid on the album, with lively guitar solos and all-around good guitar work. He just really nailed it on the album. He's sounding the best he has in years. And then there's Robert Trujillo. Now, he does a solid job all around with his bass contributions on the album and on a few tracks as well, such as All Nightmare Long. Overall, though, he does a good job. You know, he's solid, he's great. That's all you can really ask for from him. And then we come to Lars. Yeah, there's Lars, the drummer. Now, while all the rest of the band members have been getting slightly better live over the years, James has been getting better, Kirk has been getting better, Robert's being Robert, Lars has just not had that ability to get better. And part of that is just the neglect of drumming he's been doing over the years, and it's finally catching up to him. But on the album, you know what? He actually sounds pretty good, and that's kind of surprising because I wasn't sure what to think about how Lars was going to sound on the album. Now, a lot of his drum patterns, mind you, are quite stock, and that's not a bad thing. Lars' job on the album is just to be a solid all-around drummer, and he does that perfectly. There are even some parts in the album where I'm just a bit surprised by what Lars is pulling out. Not many, mind you, and nothing close to the kind of magic he was making in the 80s, but hey, it's a start, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see how it translates live when they go on tour. Now, the big thing about the album that Metallica and a lot of the fans who are helping to promote the album have been mentioning is the fact that the album is on average much longer. Each track on the album on average is about 7 minutes long, with the longest being about close to 10 minutes being Suicide and Redemption, the instrumental track, and the shortest track being reserved to the single My Apocalypse. Now, that's just fine and dandy that Metallica wanted to make an all-around longer album. I got no problem with that. But it's usually the case with many bands who try to extend their albums by making the songs longer on purpose. This can lead to cases where some people start asking, was it necessary for the album or the song to be that long? Now, case in point is the first single off the album, The Day That Never Comes. A fantastic song in its own right, but what hurts the song the first time I heard it, and on subsequent listens afterwards, was the fact that I think it was just too long. I think if maybe a minute or maybe a bit more could have been shaved off the song, it would have been a much more enjoyable one. It just feels with this particular song that Metallica wanted to extend the song a bit longer than they should have. And even with a few of the other tracks, such as the Judas Kiss and maybe even Suicide and Redemption, I just think that these tracks could have been trimmed a bit more, just because it sounds a bit too forced that the band is playing this long. It's not that Metallica can't play these long times, it's just the instrumental interludes and breakdowns seem to fit that they want to extend the song, but they really don't have to, and it could have been a great song in the end. Nevertheless, if you go through the track list, there are a lot of stellar and excellent tracks on the album. That Was Just Your Life and All Nightmare Long are two of my personal faves. The End of the Line, The Day That Never Comes, The Unforgiven 3, Suicide and Redemption, and My Apocalypse are also all great tracks. I personally didn't really care much for Broken, Beat, and Scarred, and Cyanide was just not my cup of tea. The Judas Kiss I seem to enjoy now and then. Sometimes I'll like it, sometimes I hate it. But even after subsequent listens, I kind of, I'm still not really sure about that song. And overall, the production I thought sounded pretty good. The mix is actually really decent. There's some muddiness at times, but, overall it's a damn good effort. And really the only other kind of concerns I had about the album was quite simply based on one track. The Unforgiven 3. Now, hold on. I honestly love the track. It's awesome. It's a really good ballad. It's really cool. I just have a problem with the name. Really, Metallica, you already had the song The Unforgiven on the Black Album. And then you decided for a reload you're going to make The Unforgiven 2. Okay, now, of all the track titles you're going to come up with, why the hell did you come up with The Unforgiven 3? First I thought it was a joke when the track list for the CD leaked. I thought, yeah, Metallica's going to do something as simple and stupid as that. And yet, lo and behold, what happened? Come on, Metallica. What is this malarkey that you're trying to pull off? Was there seriously need to call it The Unforgiven 3? Did we even really need a sequel to the first Unforgiven in the first place? Okay, Metallica, what were you thinking? And I guess some more minor concerns is the fact that it's like, freaking cardboard packaging for the CD case. Not like plastic is that expensive nowadays, eh, Warner Brothers? The other thing, I guess, is the whole coffin cutout idea. That's all kind of cool and stuff once you open the booklet up and stuff, but it cuts into the lyrics. I enjoy reading the lyrics. It's just annoying. Why? It's a cool effect. I won't give them that, But, I don't know why they did that. The other thing is the track listing in the booklet is out of order based on the actual track listing on the CD. That's annoying, but what can you do? And they stapled the booklet to the packaging. Okay, well, whatever. That's, minor concerns, like I said, nothing too crazy. Depending on your perspective, alright? Alright. Now, the bottom line is, if you're a fan of Metallica, whether that be past or present, Death Magnetic is a solid all-around album for the guys, and it does show the band with some promise. Now, especially after all these years of waiting for Metallica to just crank out a solid heavy metal album once again, they do a fairly good job with the album. Had the track lengths on a few of the songs been reduced, it would have been that much better. Now, I'm all for the band to try to have longer songs, but for some songs it works, and for others it doesn't. Therefore, it's really up to you. Even if you've been hating Metallica all these years, I'd still check out the album, and a lot of the haters will be getting it just to see what it's like, and it is a great addition to their discography. And I wholeheartedly recommend it for any fan who wants to hear Metallica crank out some heavy tunes once again, and if, at the very least, you can always annoy the haters about how good it is by posting on the forums. Oh yeah.